Rahim, His Highness the representative of His Majesty Sultan Qaboos of Oman, Excellencies the ministers and diplomats, the sponsors, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, I would like to thank the host, MIIFF of Bank Muscat, together with the organizers, Amani Group, for the invitation to speak on a new strategic cooperation for future development at the first Muscat International Islamic Finance Forum based on the availability of Islamic finance. As we all know, there is not a single Muslim country which is classified as developed. All of them are third world countries which depend on the non-Islamic world for their sustenance and growth. Yet, we all know that today the wealth of the Ummah, the Islamic community, is enormous. It is, however, not evenly distributed. There is a great deal of poverty among Muslims. Yet our religion enjoins upon us to give charity to the poor. For various reasons, we are not able to spread our wealth so that all in the Muslim world are freed from this debilitating and demeaning poverty. The enormous wealth of the Muslim is derived from Allah's bounty. The fact that we are all undeveloped and there is poverty in our midst of wealth is because we have not learned to make use of our resources and wealth in the way advocated by our religion. We like to claim, hampered by certain injunctions of Islam. Our wealth could not be gainfully employed because of the restriction of riba and businesses which are not Sharia compliant. Frequently, the only thing we can do with our enormous wealth is to buy bonds offered by those who are not constrained by the injunctions of the law or the laws of their society. But buying bonds is really lending money on interest. To abide by our religious injunctions, we can refuse to accept the interest earned. But this will give enormous profits to the lenders. We cannot ascertain to what use they will apply the extra profits. Very likely they would invest in businesses forbidden by our religion. This would mean that in fact we are promoting activities forbidden to us, or for the manufacture of weapons for wars against our brothers. Clearly, not accepting interest is not the wisest thing to do. It was because of the huge amounts of money that we have and the lack of Sharia-compliant ways of keeping this wealth that the creation of an Islamic banking system became necessary. Today, Islamic banking has become largely accepted even by non-Muslims. But we cannot just keep the money and earn nothing from it. Worse still, when money is hoarded, it depreciates in purchasing power or value due to inflation. We need to find ways to deploy this wealth so that we get a return from it, or at the very least, we negate the effect of inflation. Now how can we deploy the wealth of Muslims? Since it cannot earn interest, it must be through investments. it must be through trade and commerce. Long ago, the Muslim traders from the Arabian Peninsula and India were the principal traders in Asia. Their ships carried the products of their countries to barter with the products of Southeast Asia and the Far East. This trade enriched Muslims everywhere, and they involve nothing that is forbidden by Islam. But if they are not bartering, they have to carry gold or gold coins to pay for the products like spices from Southeast Asia and silk and lacquerware from East Asia. Naturally, this limited their trade as piracy was rampant, and they could not carry much gold or products without attracting piracy. Banking was not available then. Then in 1488, the Portuguese developed the sea route around the Cape of Good Hope. The Europeans came, and they and their armed merchantmen soon pushed off Arabs and Indian traders. The Europeans developed banking, and this increased their trade and their wealth. Eventually, they colonized their trading partners, thus completely excluding the Muslim traders. The traders of Arabia and India have never recovered to this day. But today, with the wealth of the Muslims and the advent of Islamic banking, they can revive their trade and go beyond that. We have seen how the wealthy states of the Gulf have grown their airlines and air transport business to the point where those from other regions are quite unable to compete. They now actually dominate the air transport industry, not just in the Gulf, but all over the world. There is no reason why they and other Muslim countries cannot do the same in the shipping industry. With shipping will come trade in the goods carried, in the wholesale and retail businesses, not just in Muslim countries but other countries as well. Muslim countries are weak in the production of goods, especially in manufactured goods. There is no reason why they should remain so. If I may, I would like to relate Malaysia's experience in industrialization. Bereft of capital, know-how and technology, with no management skills and knowledge of the markets, Malaysia industrialized by inviting foreign direct investments at FDI. Over time, Malaysians acquired the technology, manufacturing skills, capital and market knowledge, and are able to industrialize without too much dependence on FDI. Where once Malaysia depended on rubber and tin to earn foreign exchange, today 80% of Malaysia's exports are made up of manufactured goods. Malaysia has become almost fully industrialized. The rich Muslim countries are without industrial expertise. Just as they develop their countries with foreign labor, they can also industrialize with foreign labor. But if they think this is not wise, then they can invest in industries located in other Muslim countries where labor is plentiful. They can buy the technology and develop it, just as the Koreans and the Japanese have done. What is more, by investing in the labor-rich but poor countries, they would in fact be obeying the teachings of Islam on helping the poor. Creating employment is far better than giving charity, and the result would be far more lasting. As the Chinese proverb says, it is better to have to give a man a fishing rod than food when he begs for alms. Investing in industries in poor Muslim countries is in fact lasting charity and helps eradicate poverty. While manufacturing industries can create more work for more people, agriculture is not to be neglected. We know that many of the rich Muslim countries have not much arable land, but there is plenty of land in many of the poor Muslim countries. They are largely neglected because the funds for developing them are not available from within the country. Agriculture has contributed much to Malaysia's growth. At one time, Malaysia was the biggest producer of rubber in the world. Now it is the biggest producer of edible palm oil in the world. It is interesting to note that both these plants are foreign to Malaysia. Rubber is native to Brazil, while the oil palm tree is from West Africa. It is investment in big estates and good estate management which made Malaysia produce much more rubber than Brazil and much more palm oil than West Africa. There is no reason why other crops cannot be grown in the land of the poor countries. The trick is in the size of the plantation. With large plantations, the production will be more efficient and more profitable. In Malaysia, large estates make up only 1/3 of the total acreage planted, but they produce 2/3 of the rubber, while the small estates make up 2/3 of the acreage but produce only 1/3 of annual production. For the other crops to be planted on a big scale, the investment must come from the rich whose creditworthiness gives them access to the banks. We need to look into large-scale plantations of cocoa, jatropha, gum arabic, tapioca, peanuts, soybeans, and a whole variety of plants which can generate wealth for the poor countries concerned. Clearly, the potential for industrialization and agriculture is great, but there would be no investments if the host countries are not prepared for foreign and local long-term investments. For all these investments to materialize, there needs to be peace and stability. There needs to also be policies and laws in place which facilitates business. At the moment, Muslim governments have not been quite able to maintain peace and stability or to provide for the right kind of laws and policies to attract investments. We need to change this, and we can if there is a will to do this. The common problem faced by investors is uncertainty in the investment climate. For this, we must adopt a good political system. Those in power must not think that their power is for their own enrichment. Their power is for the enrichment of their country and the well-being of their people. The most important consideration is the employment of their people. As we have seen, the disregard for the welfare of the people will sooner or later bring about violent reactions and demands for the overthrow of the government. Nothing militates against development as the violent overthrowing of governments. It takes a long time before investors, local or foreign, to be convinced to put money in long-term enriching investments once a country experiences civil war and revolutions. In all these attempts to develop a nation or nations, the banks will play a big role. The money made available by banks will help increase the wealth of nations. Now that Islamic banking is available, there is no reason why Muslims cannot develop their countries. If in the effort to develop, Muslim countries cooperate with each other, the result would be faster in coming. The wealth of the rich combined with the manpower of the poor will be an unbeatable combination. If we invest in education, the manpower would be even more formidable. Education and training must therefore be given priority. We really have very intelligent and talented people in the Muslim world, but without education they cannot realize their full potential. The Muslims have the money to finance education up to the highest level, but often poverty in the overpopulated countries denies their access to good education. Perhaps schools and universities can be set up by the rich in the poor countries. It is strange that in many Muslim countries there are American universities, and frequently they are the only institutions of higher learning there. There does not seem to be many universities funded by the rich Muslim countries in these poor countries. If they do, frequently they are devoted to spreading their particular Islamic sects. This creates distrust in the host countries. We should avoid this divisive approach. We should avoid using our educational institutions to promote the teachings of different interpretations of Islam, which will only confuse the students and create problems in the host countries. We are fond of classifying education into secular and religious. Actually, knowledge that can help Muslims defend their religion and promote the interests of Muslims cannot be regarded as un-Islamic. Our inability to develop our countries and to provide for our defense is due to our neglect of the knowledge of the sciences needed for the development industries to provide for our defense. Surely, if a Muslim who dies defending the Ummah is a shaheed, a Muslim who develops and produces the weapons to defend the Muslim must be equally honored. Without him, the shaheed would die, but the country would not be defended. So we must put a premium on the acquisition of knowledge that can contribute to the development of the Muslims and the defense of the Ummah. We should therefore set up universities for the acquisition of knowledge on the subjects which are required for developing our countries and defending the Ummah. It is because we are incapable of defending ourselves that Islam is denigrated and insulted. To develop in every sense, we must therefore train and educate our people, particularly in the sciences and mathematics, while not neglecting our Islamic education. There really is no reason why the Muslims cannot develop, prosper, and be strong. What is holding us back is our disregard for the teachings of Islam and our preference for the teachings of our religious sects instead. Islam is not a hindrance. However, there are still some who believe that Muslims should be poor so as to be more pious. But we know that poverty can lead to the loss of faith. It would make beggars of the Muslims and beggars must submit to those who give them succor. Beggars will soon lose faith. We proudly talk of 1.6 billion Muslims in the world, but 1.6 billion divided Muslims can accomplish nothing, can never prosper and be able to defend the faith. 1.6 billion Muslims cooperating together can accomplish miracles. We therefore need to cooperate for the development and defense of Islam and the Ummah. In all this, Islamic finance and cooperation between Muslims and Muslim nations can contribute much. I thank you.